most dangerous decisions of your life will not feel dangerous, they will feel like relief. That is what makes them so costly. You will not hear a warning siren. You will not sense the ground shifting beneath you. You will simply feel the weight of exhaustion finally lifting, and you will say yes, and it will be done. That is the story of Esau, and if you are honest, it might be your story too. Esau was not a weak man. Read the text carefully, and you will find someone capable, respected, and physically formidable. He was a hunter, a provider, the kind of man others looked to when things needed to get done. His father loved him, his skills were real, his confidence was earned. There was nothing fragile about Esau on the surface, and that is precisely what makes his story so instructive. Because his vulnerability did not come from weakness of character, it came from depletion, not a single moment of failure, but the accumulated weight of exhaustion, physical, emotional, and spiritual, that slowly, quietly silenced the voice inside him that knew better. Depletion does that. It does not announce itself as a crisis. It creeps in through long seasons of striving, through grinding days that never seem to produce enough rest, through carrying more than you were designed to carry without ever stopping to be restored. And somewhere in that accumulation, the inner voice grows faint, the part of you that can see past the immediate moment, that can weigh the eternal against the temporary, that can say, wait, not yet, this is not worth it. That voice gets quieter and quieter until one day, in one ordinary moment, it goes silent entirely. Esau came in from the field famished. The text says he was exhausted to the point that he felt he might die. Now, that may be hyperbole, but the emotional truth is real. He was at the end of himself, and Jacob, his brother, was standing there with a pot of red stew, warm, fragrant, immediate. And in that moment, the hunger was the only thing that felt real. Here is what you must understand about the birthright. In the ancient covenant world, a birthright was not simply a financial inheritance. It was not just about who got the bigger piece of the estate. The birthright was a man's divinely assigned identity. It was his place within the lineage of God's redemptive story. It was the covenant promise passed from Abraham to Isaac, now standing at the threshold of the next generation. To hold the birthright was to carry the sacred weight of legacy, of generational purpose, of belonging to something far larger than yourself. It was not a possession. It was a calling. It was an identity. It was a place in the story God was writing across centuries. And Esau traded it for a bowl of stew. Not under the pressure of a dramatic ultimatum, not at the edge of some great crisis. He traded it in a quiet, transactional moment, a few words exchanged between brothers, a bowl passed across a threshold, and it was done. The exchange itself was small. It was almost unremarkable. There was no ceremony of loss. There was no dramatic score swelling in the background to signal that something irreversible had just occurred. Just a bowl, just a few words, just the sound of eating. And then the hunger passed, and that is the moment that should stop you cold. Because the text tells us that after Esau ate and drank, he rose and went his way, and that Esau despised his birthright. The meal was finished, the relief was real, and then it was over. And in the clarity that followed, when his body was satisfied and the urgency had dissolved, he could suddenly feel the full weight of what he had done. The stew was gone, the birthright was gone, and one of those things could never come back. This is the theological center of the story, and it applies to your life with terrifying precision. There is a version of wisdom that is only accessible before the bowl is passed. Once the transaction is complete, once the words are spoken, once the decision is made in the fog of exhaustion and hunger, that wisdom arrives too late. It shows up after the meal, standing in the ruins of what used to be yours, and all it can do is confirm what you already know, that the cost was far greater than the relief was worth. And now hear this carefully, because this is where the story steps out of Genesis and walks directly into your present moment. The trades you are most at risk of making are not the dramatic ones. You will not be tempted to trade your faith for something obviously evil. The enemy is far more patient than that. The trades that reshape a life are quiet. They are small. They arrive dressed as relief, as convenience, as the reasonable thing to do given how tired you are. Purpose exchanged for comfort, calling traded for convenience. Spiritual identity quietly surrendered in exchange for temporary approval from people whose opinion will not matter in eternity. The slow erosion of your prayer life because rest felt more urgent. The gradual drift from community because showing up required more than you felt you had. The compromise of conviction because holding the line was costly, and the relief of letting go felt in that moment like survival. These are not dramatic falls. They are quiet transactions, and they accumulate, they stack. And over time, a life is shaped not by one catastrophic choice, but by 1,000 small bowls of stew, each one exchanged for something God placed in your hands that was meant to outlast your hunger. So here is the charge. Treat every pressured decision as a birthright moment. Not every decision carries the same weight, but you do not always know in the moment which ones are the ones that will define you. Depletion distorts your perception of value. Exhaustion makes the temporary feel essential and the eternal feel abstract. So before you speak, before you sign, before you walk away, before you make the trade that feels like relief, pause, pray, ask God to show you what is actually on the table. Ask Him whether what you are about to surrender is something He placed in your hands for a reason that reaches beyond this moment. Measure what is eternal against what is temporary, and do not let hunger make that calculation for you. Esau's greatest tragedy was not that he was hungry. It was that he allowed his hunger to speak for his whole life. Do not let your exhaustion write your story. Guard what God has entrusted to you. The bowl will always be warm. The relief will always feel real. But some things, once traded, cannot be recovered. Pause before the bowl is passed. Pray before the words are spoken. And hold on to what God has called yours.